everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Sherry Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy, and I have a fabulous panel with me tonight, as I always do. I don't know who to start with. I love you all. From Genealogy. Hi, Bernice.
Hello.
I'm so glad you're here. Thanks
Glad
for
to
joining
be
in
here.
tonight. We've
you.
got Dan Earl. Dan Earl, our family history guy. Hi, Dan.
Hello, glad to be here.
Always glad to have you. We've got Laura Hedgecock from Treasure Chest of Memories. Hi, Laura.
Hi, it's also good to be here. I'm off, whatever.
He's here. Alrighty. And we've got Melissa Barker, the archive lady. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, everyone.
Well, guys, as you know, if you've been watching our last episodes, we are covering relative race, and day 5, I don't even know where to start. So first of all, if you haven't watched day 5, go watch it first and then come back, because
There wasn't any spoilers.
No.
big spoilers in this. And I just, like I said, it's very emotional. If you haven't watched it, make sure you've got some Kleenex, like maybe 2 or 3 boxes, 1 per team. Be good.
Yes.
I started out really happy. Yeah. I started out really, really happy because before the tears started, because Team Green is in New Mexico, right? They're in Santa Fe, and I lived in Albuquerque for 12 years. And then they were told that they were going to go to Rio Rancho, even though she was saying Rancho. Rio Rancho, which when I lived in Albuquerque, I was right at the top of the border of Albuquerque, and just a couple of miles was Rio Rancho. And my son works in Rio Rancho currently. So I was very, very excited. So that made me happy. But of course, he was crying as he left his sister. Stephen cried. Imagine.
Yeah. He had a hard time.
And we say that lovingly. That those tears are so present. And I'm glad that he's honest with his emotions. But it had to have been hard. It looked like he didn't want to get in the car and go. It was like, but I don't.
Well, I think it's the Germans have a saying about one eye laughing, the other eye crying.
Oh.
And that seems like the best thing for that, because probably part of him was like, go, drive, hurry. But part of him was like not wanting to leave.
Exactly. Well, and she gave him some more pictures to put in his his album, so that was great. And
that was great.
Like, this is not goodbye. We'll be able to see each other again, But I can't even imagine that. Just and we've said this so many times before. It's got to be so hard to leave, and they really had a hard time getting to Rio Rancho. To their relatives, and I'm sure there's a logical explanation, but I'm thinking, what should I do? Mountain from Santa Fe, you can see for us. Having a hard time trying to figure out why they.
At one point they mentioned. Oh, I don't know about that. I was thinking once they got into they got into town, but all I know is I remember at one point he said something about being a new area of town, and so it's hard to find because it wasn't. I don't think it was on the map.
And I think that's exactly what happened once they got into Rio Rancho, because I looked up the park and it didn't sound familiar to me. And I mean, we've been gone for a decade. And so, but I mean, I've gone back to visit my son, but that is a new part of town. And so, you know how that happens, and you just can't find it on a map. And so that's got to be frustrating.
It was something like that the freeway, like the map
There's no on-ramp or something.
The map indicated a freeway on-ramp, but there wasn't one there.
Yeah,
something like that.
You have to explain that to us.
Yeah.
Curious minds want to
know
what happened.
They were having a difficult time, and I felt sorry for them because they had one the day before.
Right, absolutely. We had Team Black leaving from Colorado, and their beautiful scenery. I think they've gotten to appreciate Colorado.
That was so beautiful.
Wasn't that gorgeous?
Yes,
absolutely gorgeous. And they're leaving with more stories and more, pictures and photos, and so their stories coming together. So that was beautiful. We had Team Red getting ready. They're so cute. I just love them. I love all the songs, singing in the car.
Oh yeah.
And we got a message, all that kind of stuff. They're great. But yeah, I was gonna say, did you notice that? I think it was Team Blue. They were running back to the house, and we have talked about this before. What aren't you
I
there?
know. Why aren't they sitting in the cars talking to their relatives? They
just
get out
didn't.
and they go.
I know, I don't, because so many of these strikes come and they're just a minute apart. So you would think that they'd be right there, but there's got to be a logical explanation to that. It's probably all editing and who knows.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe their producer is counting them down or something.
It could be. Maybe the producers know about what time they're going to get that message. I mean, who knows? Who knows? It's just funny. We've talked about that before. Why aren't y'all ready? Why isn't everything in the
red
car?
team? They took Polaroids.
Yes, what a cute idea.
Yeah, and but then I thought, did they have the Polaroid camera, or did the boy, did the brothers have it, or what? But anyway, I'm just thinking, oh, okay, Polaroids.
I mean, you don't see that very often anymore, do you? But at least they had them to go, and obviously
amongst younger sets.
That's true. You're right. You're absolutely right about that. And we've talked about this before. We are getting those professional photos they're posting in the Fans of Relative race, they're just beautiful. I'm so glad that they're doing that. The next day after it airs, they're showing more photos, and they're so cute because they're saying, we'd like to introduce you to my brother, my sister, all that kind of, my cousins, whomever it might be. I think that's just really, really cute. So we got all the teams out on the road, and we've got Team Red, who's got a benefit from the previous day. What? GPS. And they were smart, and they used it for when they got into town.
They were smart. Yes, they were. They were smart.
But it didn't help. It didn't really seem to help.
I wondered if they were just too overconfident, that when they looked at the GPS, oh, okay, we do this, and we're good. I don't know, because I thought it seemed to me they were a little overconfident about knowing where they were going.
Well, they spent a lot of time trying to figure out which way the map was in relation to where they were parked.
Exactly. Yeah. That would have been my problem. I would have had a hard time with that. So it really didn't help, and I felt so bad for them. And I was like, no, not Team Red. I didn't want them to have any problems whatsoever.
And it was raining the whole day. The poor things. It was raining.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, they're so cute. I just love them so much.
I do.
Just so cute. All right, so let's talk for a few minutes about that game. I don't know if I want to use that game.
How many of you want to play that at your famany reunion? Yeah, we've talked about this game at family reunion.
I don't think I would want to play that game. It was too hard. It was hard.
Well, at first I didn't realize at first that they couldn't move off of that platform.
Right.
Right.
So I'm thinking that would be not that hard. But then when I realized, oh wait, they can't get off the platform, I thought, oh, that makes it even harder.
Even harder. Yeah. So they had to move those balls first in that tube. And then
that wasn't so bad.
Then they had to get into those hoops, and somebody was saying that was just poor man's Quidditch.
It looked like Quidditch. It did look like it.
That would have been hard. They were all having trouble with it. All having trouble, but it seemed like once they figured out a rhythm, then they started going. But I don't think any of the teams did really well on that. I think they all seemed to struggle.
They did.
Yes. Well, like we talked about, this was an emotional day for all of the teams. Anybody where do you want to start? I don't even know where I want to start.
Let's start with Team Black.
Yeah.
Not
that Team Black had it any less,
No, but let's just work our way up or down. Team Black met their cousins on their mother's side.
Yes. Cousins. And I loved that the one cousin said, I knew your grandmother and I knew your mother.
Yes.
So she could tell stories.
And she said there's stories we can't air on TV.
We can't air on TV.
I thought, what genealogists can say that? We all can say that there's stories we can't air on TV.
Exactly. Too bad. They said a lot of some scandal, all sorts of stuff, but the photos and just getting that information. I loved how they went for the walk and they were just, talking to each other and just learning and gleaning all that information from their cousins. So that was beautiful. It wasn't teary and the sad teary, but it was teary. And then, oh my gosh, they're getting more to their story. And how much I loved when they were talking about how much they appreciated those relatives who took the time out of their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they don't know us. They don't know us. And here they are putting themselves out on TV, and inviting us into their homes and sharing information with us. So I thought that was very sweet of them to
I
think.
thought it was a good thing to air too, just to remind us all that this is a big ask for all these families. Not just the hosting but the television and the camera right where's the camera's right.
Well, and it's not just like, oh, we're just meeting, but like these are really intense, emotional, life-changing moments with a camera in your face.
Exactly.
So it is a huge ask for these families that didn't sign up for the show, that just sort of were found by the show. That's the real impressive part. These were just regular people, and they just said, sure, I'll do this. So.
Don't know what I was getting myself into, but sure, I'll do it. Right. Yeah, I loved that. I thought that was so wonderful that she took that time to thank them. And I know that all the teams, I'm sure, feel the same way about the relatives that they're meeting. And in every season that there's been relative race, they all feel that.
And some of them are asked to break some news, like we saw in episode 1, where and that's a kinder way than to have it come from a relative. But that too.
Right. And then of course we had news broken. Now that you brought that up. We had broken last night. That was just, or I should say day 5. So whenever you watched it, that was just heartbreaking. So we're talking about when Team Blue, when JT comes running up to the house, and Kaylee, they come running up to the house. He knew right away. I knew. Did you all know right away who that was?
Yes.
We all knew right away that was his sister, because we had seen pictures. And they come in the house and they start talking about their mom.
Yeah, she was showing him pictures in an album.
Yeah, and they do look so much like their mom. So much like their mom. And you could tell as she's starting to talk about their mom, you could tell something was not quite right, just from body language, from you could just tell from the tone of voice and all that. And she had to break the news to JT that their mother had been murdered. And I just can't even, I mean, it was sad for us, tears, and it was just for us watching. I can't even imagine being in that place where somebody tells you something like that. And I know we were talking about this before we started recording, that I'm sure they had a choice whether or not to have that filmed and put on air. That's such a private, powerful moment to have that aired like that. Because it could have been edited to just say, our mother has passed away, our mother has died, and not go into too many details. So
very brave of them to let that be filmed at all, but to let it be on television. I think that all of them were just very brave to do that.
My heart broke for her. Name's Brandy, correct? His sister. My heart broke for her when she said, well, you're the second sibling I've had to break this news to. And so, she's the one that had to tell JT's little brother.
Yeah.
And that's just, my heart broke for her. I mean, just.
And I kind of think, I don't know, but I kind of think that it was planned from the time that they met, because she just had that about her, that she was going to tell this.
Yeah, she had a mission.
Yeah. Right. Bernice?
I was going to say what you said, Melissa. I mean, I could tell by the body language that something was coming. I could feel And one of the things that I picked up with all of the families is how they embraced each other.
Mm.
And it was so giving and so warm. They didn't stand off.
Right.
And, oh, hi, you're a stranger. No, give me a hug, you know. And they kept hugging, and I love that. It was like love at first sight. And wow. This is just such a, I mean, it was very emotional episode, but I was just so happy. You know, I was saying, wow, relative race, you are fantastic. Look at what you're doing. I think I must have tweeted 2 or 3 times, you know, about my issues.
Yes, exactly.
It gives you, you leave with a feeling of, wow, this is wonderful. To see what's happening and checking out the dynamics of how they're communicating with each other.
Yeah, just those hugs. Go ahead, Laura.
I loved Kaylee spoke to the camera for a few seconds, you know, after JT got his news, and she's just like a warrior for him. Like whatever he goes through, I am there.
Yeah,
exactly.
I just love that, because I think a lot of times the partner is so much kind of in the background of it, and for her to be able to have that chance to express her feelings and how important his journey is to her.
Yes,
it's
agree.
a journey they're on together. I mean, it's his biological relatives, but it's their journey. So I love that as well.
They're in it together.
Exactly. Yeah.
She did a really important thing too in the episode. Is she gave him a little bit of space. Like she wasn't just immediately trying to be there and fix it. She let him kind of be in that moment, you know, and just kind of gave him a second to kind of get to where they could have communication. That's just a really, you know, wise, beyond her years kind of move that she just did, you know. And I was just really impressed with that, and with her, you know, throughout the whole series. She's just been there. She's been in the background, supportive, and just like Laura said, just an absolute warrior for her husband. So
exactly. Bernice, you wanted to say something else?
You know, I have often wondered, do they have a psychologist or someone to help them? Because
that's a great question.
A counselor or something.
10 days of intense, an intense emotional experience. And after the 10 days, what happens? I mean, their anger, disgust, or why did I do this? Or
euphoria, even that, and coming back to life. And
yes. And I just wonder if there's somebody there to help them or guide them along the way, because they're, you know, right now you're on television, right now you're experiencing this, but when it's over, then what happens?
That's a wonderful question. Maybe somebody watching will answer that for us. Maybe somebody who's in the know will let us know if they do. Because remember, JT had said I had to take a minute because I was seeing red. I was so angry. But that's something that he's going to have to deal with and process.
But he did get to see a picture of his mom for the first time. So that's good.
So
but like you said, it was a lot of things going on. Here's her picture. Not only is she passed, there was this violent event, and
and then here's her ashes. That too, you know.
And then could you catch? I mean, he said that he said that she gave him on the call at the end. His sister gave him those ashes, and I thought, wow, you know, to just meet your brother. I mean, and do that. That's amazing.
That was
amazing. But it's actually kind of cool in a way. It's a charity of I have memories, I have this, and it was like absolutely the only physical thing she could maybe give him. But
I
just and that whole blue, it made me feel hopeful in a way too, though, that not just for JT, but for Randy and the brother whose name I can't remember, is they're going to have each other a little more now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that the dynamics might change. And for them, the family has increased as well. It's not just JT finding the truth, but, you know, they've gained him.
And you know, and maybe they can all heal together.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, now not only can they heal together from their mother's tragedy, but from the fact that now they're all together again.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
Because she said she'd been looking for him.
Yes.
At the very when
because
she said, "I've been looking for you."
Right. Because she held him as a baby, and she said, "Then you just disappeared. You know, I didn't know what happened to you." So,
and how does that play on a 10-year-old?
Oh,
and also think about it that she went through life twice trying to kind of mother her siblings.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of generous spirit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we have other teams.
I know that one was just really, I can't even, you know, and I know that everybody that has watched or will watch, that is just going to be one of those moments in relative race season history that everybody's just going to be, you know, that's just a pinpoint moment. That's one of those moments that people are going to always remember is that. And we can look back and think of other seasons, and there's specific stories that just stick out. And a lot of them is because they're tragic like this, you know. Some of them happy because, you know, of who they found, but there've been several tragic relatives, tragic news that they've gotten on various seasons. So let's move on to, I don't know, Team Red.
Yes.
Be Team Red, our happy Team Red who got lost, but then they found their relatives home.
And they got out of the car and left the windshield wipers on. Did y'all notice?
I saw that. Yes. I saw that.
Did they even turn off the engine?
I felt like I needed windshield wipers during the episode, you know, just like
it was raining so bad.
There's a lot of dust in the air. A lot of dust.
It was a lot of dust in the air. A lot of dust in the air. I think Mary just joined us. She did. We'll tell her. Hi, Mary.
Hi there.
So good to have you here. Let me catch you up real quick.
Okay.
We have talked about the game.
Okay.
The challenge. We have talked we have talked about Team Black and them meeting their cousins, which we thought was awesome, and their drive in Colorado, how beautiful down the mountain.
How pretty, yeah.
Yeah. And then we were just talking about Team Blue and poor JT's, you know, it was just so sad. And I know it got to all of us. So look at who else. We're just getting everybody jumping in. Now she said she could be. Yay. It's because it's the day 5. It's because of all the craziness on day 5. Hi, Shelley.
Okay, Cheri, get them up to speed, and we'll get to the last two. Okay,
so we have talked about Team Black finding their cousins. We've talked about the challenge. We have talked about Team Blue. We just finished up with Team Blue. So if y'all want to say anything about Team Black, the challenge, or Team Blue, go right ahead, and then we'll move on to Team Red, which is where we were going. But go ahead if you wanted to say anything. If not, we'll just start.
Well, JT's, I mean, that just,
I know.
Yeah.
It's so sad. And for his sister to have to break that news to him, just heart-wrenching.
It really was. It really was. I mean, you could tell she couldn't even hardly get the words out because she didn't want to tell him. She didn't want to tell him. So
and he had to leave the room. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. He had to leave
how many years she had to carry that, knowing he was out there.
Somewhere.
He didn't know, and then she's carrying that bird. That was tough.
Absolutely, that's a good point, Shelley.
I bawled like a baby. I thought, oh.
We all did. we all did. We all did. We were moving on to Team Red, and we had talked about, they had just pulled up to the house, and we were laughing because Laura noticed that the windshield wipers were still going.
Yeah. Yes.
Mark and I noticed that too.
In the driveway. Yes.
We thought that was really funny. So they run out, and of course the whole "whose relative are you?" and it's his uncle, his
James.
uncle,
His mother's brother.
yeah, his mother's brother, which was really great. But then the
wife
aunt introduces herself as Meemaw, and I'm like, what? Yeah, I don't understand why she would unless all of her nieces and nephews called her Meemaw. And I thought, well, that's really like a mother name or grandmother name. So I was really confused until I went into the house and she started telling Jarell the story.
An amazing story.
It was. That was another heart-wrentching.
I know.
Oh gosh.
You know.
Yes. To
I'm gonna
find
say
out.
something
Go
before
ahead. Go
we
ahead.
get to the story. And
Okay,
it
Bernice.
was how the uncle and the nephew were being compared. The head.
Oh, the head.
The eyes.
The build.
Yeah. The height, you know.
Yeah, that was really cute.
It was really cute, but it was a nice icebreaker.
Yeah.
It was. You're right. It was a nice icebreaker. So they go inside and they sit down at the table and they're starting to talk. And then she says, just wanted to let you know that I was your mother's foster mom. And I'm sitting here going, how? Does anybody want to?
She basically
She said she
picked
met
him
her-
up out of the street.
She met her at a bus stop.
At a bus stop.
Yes, at a bus
Saw
stop.
this woman and child at a bus stop, and they really looked like they needed help. The baby was crying, and this stranger, complete stranger, said, "I can help this woman." And
Isn't that
does he
amazing?
need diapers changed? Does he need food? Come back to my house.
Mhm.
Your friend's picking you up, but come and they can pick you up from my house. So she
Yeah, she says,
invited
"I'm not
this complete
crazy, I
stranger
promise."
into her home. Yeah.
Yeah. She heard
No,
that
I'm not-
baby crying. You
Yeah.
know.
And she
But
wanted
you
to take
think of
care of
the
him.
whole thing that
Mhm.
she met her husband
After-
because she was helping this woman that she met in a bus stop.
Yeah.
I mean, how has the universe put this together?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you in
Yes.
this place
Absolutely.
today,
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's going to change your entire life.
Entire life.
And then he
Yeah.
started crying, and then it
Yeah.
just, you
Well,
know,
he started crying because she said, "I held you. Your eyes were like
I had you.
headlights."
Yeah.
Headlights.
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 Headlights. And oh
Yeah.
my gosh, were they his baby picture?
Yeah.
He's so cute. They were so
Oh
right.
my gosh. And it's no
Yeah.
wonder a total stranger just like, come
Just
home.
right. But how
Oh,
long
Get
did
that
she
pizza off
have
for your
them?
mom.
I don't know that she said how long she had
She
them.
just
Because
said that they were
before
there
he got
until he was
I thought it was a
adopted.
while until you were
Yeah.
adopted. So it
Adopted,
Until he
obviously
was
was some period
adopted.
of time.
That's right.
Yeah.
I
Right.
just didn't know what
Yeah.
he got adopted at 18 months. was it?
18 months. And he was 3 months whenever she picked him
There's
up.
your time frame
Yeah.
right
Yep.
there.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And then she was talking about how then she kept in touch with his biological mom, and then that's how she met the uncle
The
because they were
uncle.
brother and sister, and then they were married. So
Yeah.
and you know what else I loved? I love the fact that they've done this several times throughout the season, and she said, "I know you were raised by adoptive parents, good adoptive parents that loved you," and so. You know, that's got to feel good to biological parents too, when they're
Yep.
meeting or
Sure.
you know,
Sure.
whether it's cousins, whether it's brothers, sisters, whomever, that biological family, it's got to feel good to know that,
Mhm.
especially for those that have been looking for
Mhm.
these, you know, these children as they remember
Yeah.
them, you know,
But I
that they were taken
think with
care of.
Jarell, I think that this particular day
Mm.
was one that broke down some walls and some
Yeah.
some
Oh,
things that had been hanging on to for a very long time.
I agree.
Just
He just
good.
put his head down.
Loved.
Yeah, he just put his head down on that table and just sobbed.
Mm.
It was just sobs coming from him, and I felt like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it
I
off.
know.
Let him
But-
sob.
You know,
you
it
just-
also was giving him what happened per se.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
at least
It answered that
he's
question.
basically sitting there. He's crying. They need
Mhm.
help. and then you got, I'm going to say, an angel coming in and helping them out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And until he got adopted and could be taken care of, because it's probably obvious something was not able to happen. And so, and we'll probably find that out hopefully next week, and find out the, part 2 of this.
Part 2 of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
and
he
so-
asked, he did
Yeah.
ask, he said, can you tell me some things? And she said, that's part of your journey to discover.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I
In
thought
other
that
words,
was
yes, I
interesting.
can, but I'm not allowed.
I'm not allowed to
Yeah,
tell you.
yeah.
Mary, you were
Obviously,
gonna say
it's been-
something?
Well, a couple things. I mean, obviously,
Mhm.
to this last point, that she's clearly in contact with her sister-in-law
Mhm.
to this day.
Of course.
So, but the piece that you were saying about Auntie saying, I know you were raised by wonderful
Mhm.
parents.
They knew who it was.
But the validation for the parents, the adoptive parents, I think is
Yes,
just
absolutely.
also really,
Mhm.
and brings home that this is, there's love here for everybody, and
Yeah.
this is just expanding our family.
Exactly.
Not
Exactly.
diminishing
And also,
it.
Exactly.
you
They're not
can
replacing,
love
they're
and raise a
expanding.
child and it not be yours.
Oh yeah.
You know, and
Yes.
I think that's validation that needs to keep coming out, even though you've got people, once they become adults or whatever it is, go back and search out the birth mom.
Mm-hmm.
But they, just like JT, he said, he had great parents,
Right.
and things like that. And I think the same for Jarrell, who is really Gerald, type thing. So I don't know if y'all talked about that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And I think another thing that we don't,
Uh-huh.
and I know I don't, because I'm not adopted. I don't have any adoptions in my family at all anywhere, or my husband's family. And so, it's very difficult for me to fathom all of the questions, all of the, whatever those adoptees have inside of them that they're searching for answers for. And so when you see episodes like the one last night, it's just, I can't imagine what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're having to work through. And it's so,
Because we've never had that loss,
that
wondering or that questioning.
That's true. That's true. And also to Shelley's point, when she was talking about, you can love a child that you didn't give birth to. They are yours. It doesn't matter how they come to you. They're yours. I actually had somebody ask me one time, and I think I've told you all this before, because I've said before, I've got biological children and children that we've adopted. And I actually had somebody ask me, which ones are your real children?
Oh my.
And I
and you're like, oh,
I said, they all look real to me.
But it's an innocent question for people
It
that
is.
don't
they
understand.
don't know.
It is.
No.
That's exactly
Our-
right. It's
Yeah.
exactly right. Right.
Yeah,
right.
my
So-
second great grandparents took in 17 kids, and they were people being left on the road, gunny sack, and one became a wife on one of the sons, but they were known to take in children.
Right.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes. So
Anybody
anyway.
else have anything they
Laura
want to say
did.
about
I
Laura?
did.
Okay. Okay.
When you were talking about Daryl having his head down, what I loved was the way her hand went across the table and the way she touched him. It was almost like a healing, laying on hands.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
felt so healing and so, and his uncle also is like, let it out. There's more where that came from. They were
Exactly.
and that might be why they left it in, just to tell that part of the story about what kind of couple this is, that tears don't scare us.
Yeah.
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 They're
Well,
obviously
it's
very
honest.
strong.
Right.
Did
It
you
was
see how
honest.
she was just beaming,
Oh,
telling
yes.
him that? That was
Mhm.
love, just telling,
Yeah.
and to be able to see him, because remember, she grabbed him to hug him. Do you remember that? At
Yes.
the beginning, because she probably didn't see him since he had been 18 months old.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's probably been
Exactly.
waiting for months since
Yeah.
I told her.
Yeah.
Yes.
However long that was.
I'm waiting until we see the I would love to know. Don't you know that she and Jarrell's mother and Jarrell's uncle. Don't you know they've all talked about him?
Oh, you
Yeah.
know
Where
that
is
they
he?
have.
Where is he? What's he doing? You know.
Yeah.
So now all
I
these
think
people
they
that-
knew the adopted parents.
You
I'm
think?
wondering.
I
think
don't,
they did.
why do you think that?
I think she said, remember when she said until they got adopted? You remember last season? Remember the mama and the caregiver picked
Mhm.
picked
Grandma
the
Marge.
couple to take that
Yep,
child.
Grandma Marge. So it could be the same kind of situation. It
Yeah,
could be.
that's what I'm hoping. They
Yeah.
knew he was okay. They didn't
Well-
want to disrupt his life, but they knew he was okay.
And location wise, I mean, you
Yes.
know, Cincinnati to
They're right
where they were
there.
in Indiana, it was,
Yeah.
I mean, they
Yeah.
had the shortest travel distance from
Yes.
where he grew up. It's
Yeah.
right
Didn't have to
there.
go-
Yeah.
Didn't have to go too far, right?
Mm-mm.
But
Which
then
was
they said that
really
you still
nice.
got lost.
Yeah, they still got lost. But you know, when they've got those short days, that just means they get to spend more time with the families. I
Yeah.
really like that.
Yeah.
You know, that they have those short days so they can really spend that time. And then we get more pictures, right? So
Yeah.
to see what's happening. Let's move on to, we could talk about this all night.
I
Let's
know.
move on to Team Green, whom, you know, we love, and y'all missed from the beginning. I said he was crying from the beginning, which makes me start crying from the beginning. I start crying when the theme song comes
Yeah.
on. So.
That's the comments on Twitter. Did you see the comments about Steve? You know, and I just love Steve.
Oh, I know he's
He is.
wonderful.
He's awesome.
So they
Yeah.
finally get to Rio Rancho. They get through the game. Finding their relative's house was so hard for them.
Yeah.
But they finally get there, and he walks up, and there's two guys standing out there, and they're his brothers.
Yeah.
He was blown away by that.
I
He
was too.
blown
Yeah.
away.
They look just like
Of
him.
course,
I know.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
as soon as
yeah.
you saw him, you knew who they
That was
were.
old Jerry Springer on that one. I was like, those are his brothers right there.
Yeah, I said the same
Brothers.
thing.
That was,
I said the same thing. And how fitting for the paint gun thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I got a
What
question
was
about that. Once we get done, I got a question about that before we go. So don't let me forget.
Okay.
So they go inside because he says, "You're my brothers on my dad's side. Is he still alive?" Because
Yes.
remember, there was a 1 in 5 chance that he would still be alive.
Because of the
And that's when they
uncle or
said,
the
let's go in
father.
and talk about it. And I thought, oh no.
yeah.
I know.
Well-
That's what I thought. I thought,
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
no.
impressed with his not blurting out that word. Is he still alive? You know, first out of the gate.
first thing, right?
Yeah.
Right. And he's all excited to hear that. And then he stops and he looks at Susan's like, "Come on, let's go." He didn't forget her. I probably would have just got her
I
into
know.
that house. But he didn't. He didn't forget her. He made sure she was coming and got her in the house. But not only did he find out that his father's still alive, but he got to see pictures of him.
Did.
So
He
and
did.
a bit of explanation about his personality, Laura.
I thought it was so hilarious because first when they said he's alive, he was like, he was so excited. And then he says, "I bet you're kind of stoked about it too."
That was great. That was great.
Just loved that. That was so funny.
He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was so
I know.
it was just so raw and honest, you know.
Yeah.
There was no faking that. That
I
was,
can't
it
wait
was,
till next week. It's
that
I
was
know.
beautiful.
just
That was
because
beautiful.
of the highlights for next week. And it was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Something's happening. Something's happening.
Something is seriously coming up next week. So I thought this week was something, but then I watched
Yeah,
the-
next week's probably going to
highlight.
be even. You know, I thought it
think
was
so.
interesting too that he was asking them, you know, was our dad
was he
in
a
your
good
life?
dad?
And they were saying yes, he was very, very in our lives. And so then his
You
only
could see on his face. You could see on his face that kind of got to him when he
It
said
did.
yes. He was in. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think he thought it just. I don't know.
oh, why wasn't he
I
involved
shoulda
with
had
Do
Yeah.
y'all
mine?
think
But-
his dad knew about him?
no,
That's-
because
that's
the
Jennifer,
thing, that
his
his-
sister told him.
Yeah,
His dad,
sister
He
told
wasn't
him he didn't
sure.
know.
as
She
good a
wasn't
dad as he
sure.
was,
Hang on, Mary. Go ahead.
as good a dad as the brothers indicated he was,
Mhm.
if he'd known, he would have been there for Steve.
I think
Probably.
so too.
Probably.
Yeah.
But Jen did tell him that he
Yeah,
didn't
she
know.
did.
And
She
that's
said
why
she
he didn't go to the
didn't think.
dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she didn't think he knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Laura,
So-
were you gonna say
I'm
something?
sorry.
Were you gonna say something? It just looked like you wanted to say something. Okay.
No, I mean, normally I'm always going to say something, but this particular second, no.
This particular second.
So,
Correct,
so what are the predictions for next week?
First
Let's
of all,
talk about who got first, second, third, and
before
fourth.
we even do that, I'm confused. I think there may have been a mistake in the narrative
Uh-oh.
because they're in Rio Rancho. That's New Mexico.
Right.
Why would they go to Arizona? He said in Arizona is what they said they were doing the paintball. Why would they go to Arizona?
Was it-
Probably on the
close?
border.
No.
Is it close?
Drive to go. And so I think it was just a mistake, but maybe they did drive several hours and go to Arizona. But there is a huge paintball place in Albuquerque. So, and Albuquerque is, Rio Rancho, Albuquerque. It's like,
Well,
so
they both start with A, and they're both, desert.
Right.
yeah,
Easy
so
mistake.
For
I think
for those of us from the East, it's like those Southwest square states.
well, remember, people think New Mexico is not a state. And you
I
have to have a
Oh,
passport
there are
to go
people
there.
that think that.
Right.
There
Yes.
really are.
So I don't know. Maybe they did jump in
But
the
it
car.
could
There was
have
a
the
better
same
one out there.
name.
Someone might have been aware that there maybe is a actual connection with Arizona.
See, I'm wondering if they went to
Ah.
Arizona next. And so that was, yeah.
Mm.
And maybe it does have the same name. You can go
Yeah.
from county
Yeah.
to county and have every county's got a main street, first
Yeah.
street. I
Yeah,
mean,
so I
I'm
just don't know
saying.
if that was a mistake in the script as Dan was talking about where they went next. I thought, wait a minute, how'd they get to Arizona when they're in
That's my guess, that it was
so
in
they have
editing
to
that it
leave
was
from the
there.
relative's house. They're not going to send them to Arizona and then go somewhere to Arizona.
Not
So that-
2 or 3 hours away.
yeah, that doesn't make sense.
They started
No.
off the season with helicopters, so there could have been a helicopter involved, airplane.
They could have done
Maybe.
paintball off the skids of the helicopter. That would have been cool.
See?
So I don't know.
There you
So
go.
I was confused, and maybe somebody will prove me wrong and say, hey, they've just built this great big paintball, or in the decades since you've actually lived there, it's right on the border, and they happen to be in Arizona when they were filming that particular segment.
Or maybe
I don't
it's
know.
named after the one in Arizona, and the,
Yeah.
type
I
thing.
don't
don't
even know. I don't know, but he said Arizona, so I need to know. Somebody tell me, did you go to Arizona?
Maybe the people that own the paintball place are confused and they think it's
They don't
Arizona.
know
And
where they are.
everyone around them is just so nice they haven't corrected them. They're like, nobody tell them that this is New Mexico.
It could be.
Just keep eating
That could be.
your hatch chilies, and we'll just pretend this is Arizona.
Hatch chilies, exactly. Absolutely. Don't get me hungry, Dan, for hatch chilies. Let's go to the results. How about that? Shall we go to the results? The
Yes.
results
I
are
can
great.
sum
Well,
that up
first
in
of all, they
one
have to have
sentence.
that call, and they have to show everybody who they
Yes.
met, and they were just when JT said I've met my sister and told them about, all of them were like, that's just
Yeah.
not news
That was
that
hard.
you want. That's just not news that anybody wants. But again, all that loving support from the teams, you can just feel it coming through the screens.
Oh, yeah.
They really are.
can,
I mean,
really can.
they were smack talking, texting each other. That was fun.
They were.
That was funny.
That was really fun, but it's just part of the day, give them something to do,
Right,
something to think
right.
about. And it's all done in fun. So, but we had, well, go ahead. Somebody else tell the results.
Team Black got first.
They did.
Yeah, they
They
did. I
did.
was excited. They
Yes.
were excited. It was like, what? They were excited.
That was
And
good.
then surprise, who came in second?
Blue.
Surprise.
Did you hear her
Again.
say? Did you hear her say that she said if we just stay second, we'll go through the whole thing.
We're okay with that.
That's
Yes.
okay.
She's right.
Yeah.
She's right.
Yeah.
We can just coast right into
That's
day 10 by staying second.
They- they-
Absolutely.
And
Only
then the
have to
big
get another
shocker.
couple and
Yeah, you only have to finish first
Yeah.
once to win the race. So.
That's right. And then the big shocker after second.
Oh my gosh. I know. So
I loved it.
This has happened once before in one of the
I
seasons.
remember.
Yeah, I can't remember which. I
Yeah.
can't remember which season it was. So team, we're all dying because we don't want Team Red to get another
Anybody
strike.
to go.
Right, because that would give them their third strike. They'd be out, and it would give Team Green their second strike, which means, you know, that next week they would be in danger. Same time, they tied. What?
Yeah.
How does
And
that
I
even
thought after
happen?
all the emotions of this particular episode, I thought, how can we get rid of anybody?
I know that was my
Exactly,
concern. And I said, oh God, I hope nobody goes. I hope nobody goes.
Mary?
Not even thinking tie. You know?
Exactly.
The accountant can do the math because if we only have 9 strikes, I mean, if they don't use well, actually 8 strikes, because there's not a strike on day 10, so everybody can go to the final. I mean, it's possible.
Technically,
It's
it's
mathematically possible.
It is
Right.
possible.
Everybody could go to the
Yes,
final.
and Joe Henline brought that up during the show. He said, wait a second. We could get everybody on day 10. I said, wouldn't that be the most amazing season ever if we could get all the teams to day 10?
Well,
And
then
you
we're gonna have to
you
get,
really
get a
do.
strike or two, though.
You want everybody to have that chance. It's really not about the money.
Mm-hmm.
You know
And
what I'm
we-
saying? The money's
To day
nice.
9, that would be okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can
Yeah,
see all
the
the
you're right.
family.
The
You're
money is nice, but it's really the connections that they're making.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did anybody else notice that there was no in like the bed videoing at the end?
yes, it right. And I kept the TV on because there was no chatter after the show stopped. And then here comes, you know, the preview for next
They
week.
did
So
talk
I
to
thought,
Team Black though. Team Black though, they were just saying that they're going to hold a torch for Jarrell. That was the only.
They did say that, but
they
after
did say they were
that,
holding a torch.
Yeah,
he's
but
the,
there
he's
was
the only
they
one
go
that
to
can.
everybody.
in the
There
bed
was
stuff.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, but you're right. They
I
didn't.
have a theory. Remember
Okay.
when we had Dan on and I asked him about something? He said, sometimes with the editing, there's 15 seconds that we just can't find time for in that hour show.
No, that may have been it.
I think there was so much meat
I
in the
agree.
storytelling that they probably let go of that.
But they typically
Like-
have not had previews either.
I didn't see the preview.
I didn't see any previews because
Oh,
I
go
did.
back.
I saw it too. I saw it.
Go
too.
back.
No, Shelley, it
text-
wasn't on there. It
I
wasn't on
text
there.
I
Cheryl.
promise.
Shelley,
I
yes.
promise you
I
it was there.
watched the taped version.
Yeah.
It had already run live, and I watched it on BYU TV,
Yeah.
taped version, and there was no previews
Yeah.
for next week.
Did
I
you
watched
watch
it on
the
the
whole
app.
thing?
show came
Yes.
on?
Preview. Mm-mm.
We
Did
did
you
not
watch
get
it
it. I
to the
looked on the
next show?
computer.
I watched it on my Roku or whatever. Yeah, on
And
regular
Mary,
TV.
you watched it on the computer and you didn't see it
I
either.
watched it on Roku, and then when I saw you guys talking about previews, it's like, what did I miss? So I got on my computer today
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
the previews. Not there.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nope.
Bernice,
So who
did you
else
see
saw
that?
it besides Cheri and I? Just
Nobody-
us two?
Wow.
Just you two.
I guess you only saw it if you were watching it live last night.
Guess
Right.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
they must have taken it out when they once
Yeah.
they recorded it because I didn't see
Yeah.
it.
It's
Yeah.
not on the
Oh,
Roku.
Guys, it's
I'm
going to be
telling
interesting.
you guys, next week, I'm not going to say
They'll
since
start
you didn't
showing
see
it.
I'm
Yeah,
not
they'll
going to
start
say
showing
what
it.
I saw.
Yeah.
And Cheri, don't say. Y'all wait for you thought this one was pretty bad. I think next
Yeah.
week's going to be a good one.
I think
too.
so too. But they'll start showing it. We'll start seeing it. They'll be putting
Yeah.
it out so you can
It'll
see it.
start coming out.
After you guys said you couldn't find it, I went to BYU TV to see if it's there and I didn't see it like
Yeah.
anywhere, but they'll start posting
Okay,
it
so
on
I'm
social
definitely
media.
not crazy. You saw it.
No, I
too.
saw it too.
Okay.
Wait, that
I
does
thought
not
too.
mean you're not crazy.
That's
Cheryl.
right.
Right. That's not the test that they use
Yeah.
to determine that.
She's got a point. She's got a point. Oh,
That
guys.
is okay. I saw it. Cheri saw it. And
You have a witness.
we got
Exactly,
predictions, and
exactly.
We're gonna keep
It's
them
gonna
to
be-
ourselves.
Yep. Yeah. Ooh.
It's gonna be just bring a box.
Yep. Yep. Oh, anybody else have anything else they would like to bring up about the episodes before we say goodnight? About this
They're
episode?
just getting
almost
getting more
thinking-
intense. That's all I got to say about that.
I'm
Oh.
gonna make a statement that I think this is probably the best of all the seasons so far. I mean, and I have watched it from day one, season one, and I've even went back and probably watched the, 1 through 5 or 1 through 6 season. This one has more little twists and turns compared to some of the other seasons. This one they did, and remember Dan said it was a little different.
He told us, yeah. And he said there were some real tough stories in it too.
Yes,
and so
he did.
yeah,
He did. So
absolutely. Oh
okay.
my gosh. Oh geez. So
What'd she say?
I said I was worried we would not get through recording this without crying, but
yeah.
Oh, I'm good now. I'm good.
helps to talk about it.
Yes.
I'm
Helps
good.
to talk about it.
Process.
So thanks everybody for watching tonight. Let us know how you felt about day 5. How many boxes of Kleenexes did you go through? What was your favorite thing that happened on this episode? We would love to hear from you. So thank you everybody for being on the panel. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you next time for day 6 on see, I don't want to say relative race. We will see you next time on GenFriends for day 6 of relative race. There we go.
There you go. Bye-bye.
Everybody.